Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. Today, we're talking about 5 ships that I think should be added into the game as premium ships this year. These ships, we're going to go through them. These are all of my creation, too, by the way. None of these ships are, of course, any ships that have been announced as coming out this year. These are ships that I just think would be enjoyed by many, especially those of you that watch this channel. And again, these aren't ships that have been announced anyway. These are ships of my own creation. So today, we're going to go through them, talk about what this ship should be, what I think it should be, some general ideas that I have about what this ship should be in the game. And again, it's all my opinion, all ships that are made up from my own creation. In fact, let me know in the comments down below, what premium ships would you like to see added into the game? So let's go ahead and get started with number 5, which would be the Rodney. So the Rodney was the sister ship to the Nelson, one of the sister ships to the Nelson. And in my vision for HMS Rodney in this game, I think she would be pretty similar to the Nelson, except some tweaks here and there, with her being one at tier 8 instead of tier 7 like the Nelson. And the Rodney's mechanic difference would be that she has the improved AP of Hood and Duke of York. If you don't know, the Hood and Duke of York has improved AP pin angles. They're more AP focused ships rather than the HE ships of the Royal Navy battleship line. And this would also be reflected here with the Rodney too. She would have normal battleship HE instead of the Royal Navy improved HE. There's also why she should be at tier 8 since she has 9 16-inch guns. 9 16-inch guns with improved AP pins and such would be quite monstrous at tier 7. Now, she would also have slightly thicker armor. She would increase her armor plate up to 27 millimeters of armor. That way she can bounce 15 inch, because this would be, again, a tier 8 ship, having to fight games at tier 10. But she would also still have that super heal to back her up. If you don't know, in case you don't have the Nelson, Nelson does have a super heal like the Lion and the Conqueror, where she can essentially reprint roughly half of herself. Rodney would have this as well. So this would give you a very, very powerful tier 8 battleship with 9 16-inch guns with improved AP pins and such that would be quite monstrous if it would catch your broadside or the broadside of a cruiser, and it would still have, of course, decent HE if it needs to switch to it, although with 16-inch guns at tier 8, you're mostly okay unless you're going to get top tier, unless you're going to get bottom tier a lot. And of course, you have the super heal to fall back on as well in case you do slip up, or if you get your nose overmatched, which likely would happen again. Now, of course, her range would probably have to be increased too, and her detection, I think, would be cranked down maybe a kilometer or two as well to again help her adjust to being a tier 8 ship instead of a tier 7 ship. But that's my number 5. Moving on to number 4, we have the New Jersey. So the New Jersey, I've talked about the ship several times beforehand, and I really think this year would be a good year to introduce the New Jersey. This would be a secondary focused Iowa. Long story short, you would give the New Jersey the Massachusetts treatment. You would give it those long range, good, well, used to be god tier accuracy, but decently accurate secondaries. You would decrease the main battery gun's accuracy by dropping its Sigma down a couple of notches and dispersion as well. And you would give it the improved damage con and heal cooldown times, like the Massachusetts and the Ohio, who both have around a 60-second damage con and heal cooldown time on those consumables. That way you would have an Iowa class that's, well, in Iowa, so you get the speed, you get the health pool of the Iowa, and you have secondaries that are like the Massachusetts and Ohio on that. So you have a nice, fast battleship with good secondaries that can get out to around 11.3 kilometers, running around. It'd be a great ship to get on a flank or to quickly rush an unsuspecting other battleship, get in there close range with those 9 16-inch American battleship guns with their improved AP, and really start a slugfest. And it would, of course, maintain the improved American battleship heal, because the Iowa, while it's great for, running around at mid-range like Iowas do, it's not the best close-in brawler. So, it's kind of a more risky Iowa, a more enjoyable playstyle, a ship that I'm sure would sell just incredibly well on the North America server if you're listening, Wargaming, and one that would be incredibly fun too. Of course, she would maintain her other characteristics, of course, her AA, her concealment, and all that jazz, but just a bucket of fun potentially to have here in the New Jersey. Now, interestingly too, they removed, I think, the B-hull for the Iowa a little while ago, so we could be seeing another Iowa sister added into the game. I mean, we're only missing Wisconsin and New Jersey at this moment, but who knows? If you're listening Wargaming, go for it. Going on down to number 3, we have the Luca, the Butcher. I think I said one of those correctly. It is, of course, the other hipper class heavy cruiser of Germany. Now, my idea for the Blucher would be that it's a Prince Eugen, but it's at tier 9. And you would drop the reload time down to 11 seconds based on the guns. That way you get those nice German HE guns going at a little bit faster of a weight. And plus, you will unlock the 6 mod slots, so you can put the reload mod there too, or the range mod if you want. And just like the Nelson, you would give it a little bit of buff to its AP pins. So it'd be more of an AP based hipper, but again, too, still that nice German HE to fall back on. Just something to help it do a little bit better at tier 9. And you would also give it another heal, because right now with the commander skill, you can get the Prince Eugen up to 4 heals with the commander skill. So you start with 4, you can get up to 5 to help it acclimate to being a tier 9 heavy cruiser rather than a tier 8 heavy cruiser, because we all know how wonderful the hipper hull is when it takes a single large AP shell. So you can imagine what is a Prince Eugen basically being perma up tier to tier 10. You understand, might need a little bit more survivability there. So this would give you what is essentially a Prince Eugen up tier to a tier with faster reloading guns, better AP, and a little bit more survivability because you have more heals. And you could, of course, probably crank the range down, crank the concealment down a little bit too, and maybe thicken up the armor in a couple of places to help it survive being perma up tier to tier 10. But I think there's some good fun to be had here too. Another potentially close in German heavy cruiser with those improved AP pins on her guns, and you still have again that nice HE to fall back on if you do need it. Going down to number 2, we have a ship that has been long awaited and long asked for in the game, and that is the Johnston of Taffy 3 fame. So the Johnston would simply be a Fletcher but tuned for close-in combat, very much like the Johnston did in real life. So you would do things like cut back on the torpedo range, you would give it a heal, and this would be at tier 9. And you would also include Ernest Evans, the real-life commander of the Johnston, as a special commander. You can give Evans an improved survivability expert and an improved adrenaline rush skill, again reflecting what the Johnston did in real life. For those of you that don't know, long story short, the Johnston charged the Yamato completely by itself in order to protect the carriers of Taffy 3, and the Japanese, due to just the insanity that they were seeing, they thought the Johnston was a heavy cruiser. And if you want a really good explanation of what happened here, there's several videos on YouTube like those from Drac that explain exactly what happened. But long story short, Johnston YOLO'd, and it YOLO'd very, very, very well. So you would make a Fletcher essentially more of a knife fighter rather than the mid-ish range HE spamming ship that you have right now with the current Fletcher. Kind of like what we're seeing potentially coming out with the Italian destroyers, how they look like they're going to be just absolutely insane DPM monsters at close range. Kind of like that with the Johnston. Again, you give it a heal to reflect how tough that ship was in real life and what it took to finally sink that Fletcher class destroyer in real life. And this would be, again, another great seller of the North American server, Wargaming. Yes, it would be another Fletcher in the game, but I mean, like, if there's a Fletcher that's going to get added into this game on top of all the other Fletchers that we have in this game, the Johnston warrants it for sure. Alright, going on down to number 1, we have the Impero. So the Impero is the unfinished sister ship to the Roma, the only one that we actually don't have in the game at the moment. So the Impero is essentially a Roma, but we give it sap secondaries and no fuel smoke. So essentially, just take the Roma, slap some sap secondaries on it, and maybe increase the main battery reload by 1 second to compensate for that. Now, the Roma in game, as any Roma player would tell you, isn't the most accurate ship in the world. Although when you get in very, very, very close range situations with the heavy hitting the heavy hitting Italian AP, the Roma can and will hurt you if you let it get close, but unfortunately in most matches, especially the way higher tier games go nowadays, you rarely get close enough to really utilize Roma to its full potential. But again, when it works, it works. But that's why I think if you just go ahead, give the ship sap secondaries, and maybe up the reload a little bit, or maybe I don't think it'll be a viable ship, but maybe drop down the Sigma a little bit. It could balance out, quote unquote, but I honestly think if you just give it like a 1 second more to the main battery reload, I think it'll be okay. But yeah, Roma with sap. Imagine that in the Impero. You got the Roma, you got that fantastic armor scheme, you got sap secondaries, and unlike the Vittorio, which unfortunately is quite painful to play, at least in my opinion, because of how much they've had to dial down the accuracy in the main battery guns because of the sap in the main battery guns, you will still have, AP, HE in the main battery guns, sap secondaries, which sap secondaries can work very well against cruisers, and depending upon how well armored they are, heavy cruisers too, depending upon which one you're going to be going up against, absolutely fantastic against destroyers, which the Roma really lacks in the ability to do too much to destroyers because of the main battery accuracy that she has. So this would give you a bit better of a Roma that's better at brawling, but again, it's more secondary based, and we've seen, like with the Verdi, how the sap secondaries can work out. Again, they would have to be a little bit more accurate than the Verdis, because the Verdi's secondaries are, they are extremely inaccurate. So overall, I think this would be a really solid design for an Impero if they were to add it in the game. And again, just one that I came up with. So guys, let me know in the comments down below, what 5 ships would you like to see added to the game this year, and either in premium ships or in tech line ships in this year 2022. Let me know what you guys think about my suggestions down below. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday and you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 35,000 subs, just past 32,200 a few days ago. I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're all having a wonderful Monday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.